And to do a little quick review lesson today. This one is on graphing lines, so it's something y'all have been doing for a long time. We did this in Unit 3 in this class, but this is kind of like a starting point for what we're going to do in the next lesson. So I just wanted to make sure that we could still remember how to graph a line because it is very important. So let's just dig right into it. So we're going to just practice today finding the graph of a line using slope-intercept form. So remember, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Let me get my red pen. Y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope of the line and b is the y-intercept. And remember, a y-intercept is where we cross the y-axis. That is the vertical axis that goes up and down. So if you look at example 1, you can see that that equation is already in slope-intercept form. The y is by itself. The 4 that is with the x is our slope. And the -1 at the end is our b, which is our y-intercept. So when we begin graphing, we're going to start with our b, which is -1. So we're going to graph the point 0, -1 on the y-axis. So you put up your first point is always on the y-axis. This one is at -1. All right, so the slope of our line is 4. Now when we have a slope, we need a rise and a run. So if your slope is a whole number, you need to put it over 1. So anytime your slope is a whole number, remember to put it over 1. So 4 is our rise. So we're going to go up 4 from our -1. So we're going to go up 4 spaces on the y-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4. That'll have us stopping right there where I put that tiny red dot. I did it tiny because I'm not finished yet, because I have to go and run to the right 1 space. So my next point on this line will be right here. So I'm going to go back and erase that one that I put on the y-axis. So there's 2 points, and I'm going to draw a straight line through them. Always make your lines long. You will see in the next lesson why that's important. And I have told you guys a billion times, anytime you draw a line, you must include arrows. These are infinite figures. All right, so that's basically how you do it when you have an equation that is already in slope-intercept form. So let's just review a few times what you do when your equation is not already in slope-intercept form. So this next example, 2x minus 3y equals 6. So this is what we call standard form of a linear equation. So we want to make it look like slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. So that means we need to solve it in terms of the y. We want to get the y value by itself. So we're going to get all of our other terms away from the y. So I'm going to subtract the 2x on both sides. So they're going to cancel out on the left-hand side. And on the left-hand side, I'm left with -3y. Copy your equal sign. Now, notice that 6 and -2x are not like terms. 6 is a constant, and -2 has a variable with it. So you're going to split it up, -2x, and since it's a positive 6, you're going to put plus 6. All right. So only thing we have now to do is to get the y by itself, which means it is being multiplied by -3. So to get rid of the -3, we divide all of our terms on each side of the equation by -3. Make sure you do it with all 3 of the terms. So these on the left-hand side cancel out because -3 divided by -3 is +1. And that leaves us with just y over there. And then we simplify the rest. A -2 over -3 simplifies to +2/3. Keep it with the x. And +6 divided by -3 is -2. So now it's in slope-intercept form. My -2 is my b. So that means I start the graph at the point 0, -2, which is down here on the y-axis. First point of graphing a line is always on the y-axis. My slope is a +2/3. So that is rise over run. So I'm going to start down here at my -2 that I've already graphed, and I'm going to rise up 2 spaces. That puts me at the origin, and then I'm going to run to the right 3 spaces, and there's my second point on my line. Connect it with a nice long straight line and put arrows on it. And that's how we graph number 2. All right, number 3 is another example of one that's not already in slope-intercept form. So again, we want to make sure our y is by itself because we got to get it to look like y equals mx plus b. So we're going to subtract 5x on each side. That leaves me with negative y equals negative 5x plus 3. All right, so now my y is not by itself just yet because it has a negative with it. Actually, it has a -1 with it. So to get rid of that -1, we're going to divide all of our terms by -1. So that's going to leave me with y equals positive 5x, because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. And then I have a positive 3 divided by -1. So positive 3 divided by -1 is -3. So now my equation in slope-intercept form is y equals 5x minus 3. So my b term is -3. So that means my y-intercept for this graph is at the point 0, -3 on the y-axis, which is down here. My slope is positive 5. And since it's a whole number, I need to put it over 1. So 5 is my rise, run is my 1. All right, so I'm going to rise up 5 from that -3, which puts me about right there. And then I run to the right 1 time. So again, I rise up 5 from my -3, and then I run to the right 1 time. And then connect those two with a long straight line. Mine's not very straight, but y'all know what I'm doing. Put your arrows on it and you're finished. All right, just a few little special cases for graphing lines I want to show you next. The first one is one like this, y equals -2x. Now, if you notice on this one, you don't see a b term. There's nothing after the x. So when you see an equation like this, when it has a slope and an x and nothing after the x, then your b term is actually a 0. Because if I add 0 to this equation, it keeps the same value. -2x plus 0 is the same thing as just -2x. All right? So when you have an equation with nothing after the x, then the y-intercept is 0. So my y-intercept is at the point 0, 0, which is the origin. So the first point you graph on this graph would be at the origin. So if you don't have a b term, your b term is usually a 0 if there's an x there. So my slope is still the number in front of the x, which is going to be -2, and we know to put that over 1. So I'm going to start at my origin. My rise is -2. That means I'm going to go down 2. Oops, sorry. What's going on with my graph? So I'm going to go down 2 spaces, and then I'm going to run to the right 1 space. So down 2 to the right 1. And there's my second point. And then I'm going to draw my line between those 2 points and put arrows on it. Okay, my next special case, and I told you guys a long time ago that you needed to remember what these kind of equations are. So the first one is y equals -1. And I told you guys a long time ago to memorize that when you have y equals a number, that is going to be a horizontal line. Okay, memorize that. Anytime you just have y equals a number, then that is going to be a horizontal line. This one is going to cross the y-axis at -1. So you go to the y-axis, and you're going to graph the point -1, and then you're just going to draw yourself a horizontal line at -1. So y equals a number is a horizontal line. You cross the y-axis at that number. And our last example, as you can guess, is x equals a number. And I told you guys to memorize the x equals a number is going to be a vertical line. Okay, so a vertical line crosses the x-axis at that number. So this vertical line is going to cross the x-axis at 3. So I go to the x-axis, which is right here, and I'm going to go to 3, and I'm going to put a point there, and then I'm going to draw a vertical line. Okay, so this was just a really quick video of reviewing how to graph lines. You might not even had to watch this video if you already knew what you're doing, which is fine. If you need some more examples, we did this lesson on Unit 3, Day 2. So you can go to YouTube and watch that lesson. You can also go to your notes and see what your notes say for Unit 3, Day 2. But we did this lesson there. And if you watch the video, I believe this lesson actually starts around 15 minutes into the video. It's a long video, but if you just fast forward to the first 15 minutes, through the first 15 minutes, it should get you right there at the beginning of that lesson. And now you're ready to do worksheet number 3, which is just a few problems on graphing lines. So I miss you guys. I hope you're doing well, and I hope to see you soon.